Get them all in.
Doors shall be open to allow any visitors into the public gallery.
Stand by.
You're bringing some upstairs.
There's a queue the whole way down the castle building.
We'll get up and give them our seats.
I'd remind members and visitors of the need to switch off all mobile phones and electronic devices.
And to sit quiet.
Oh,
We have one.
Oh, we've got one.
this is our standing visitor.
The resident visitor, you mean?
We're like a standing order.
Agenda item 4, draft minutes of the previous meetings. The draft minutes of the meeting of the 25th of March are in the packs at page 5. Are there any comments or amendments to consent? Agreed. Agenda item 5, matters arising. The Attorney General inquiry. As agreed, we have written to the Attorney General, OFM, DFM and the Justice Committee seeking their views on the handling of guidance led by the Attorney General. We haven't received any responses as yet, so if members are content, we will consider this at the next meeting. Okay. The review of topical questions. As agreed, we have written to the Executive seeking its view on some specific issues that have emerged during the review. We haven't received a response, so if members are content, we will consider this at the next meeting.
I'd like them not to respond quickly.
Well, I think we have sent off a reminder quite recently in the last couple of days. Not that necessarily means anything, but we have done it. Okay, agenda item 6, amending bills after further consideration stage. At page 91 is a briefing paper from the Bill Office including proposed amendments to standing orders to provide for an exceptional further consideration stage. I've dealt with this a few times now. At page 93 is the proposed new standing order 37A. A few drafting changes have been made from the previous version, which the committee had indicated it was content with. The substance of the standing order as originally drafted remains. The changes are largely drafting changes designed to improve the draft and to make it consistent with other standing orders. At page 95 are a few consequential amendments. Hope you want to check that out.
Just on that, 37A, I'm not so much opposed to it, but I do honestly think it's not necessary. Or, let me rephrase it, it shouldn't be necessary. It shouldn't be necessary. Because bearing in mind that we're talking here about a bill and all the scrutiny that a bill goes through before it gets to that stage, and then to discover after that stage then there is something that triggers off, as a result of it, triggers off an amendment somewhere else. You know, that should be picked up in the whole process, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should. And I think because we have discussed this, Lord Moran, you brought this up a number of times, I think it's accepted, but
Yeah.
it was thought to...
Right, okay.
So would you,
No, I don't intend holding it. I mean, just to make the point that
Okay.
it's...
so if people are content?
Just remind me as well, but it's limited to who actually can extend it, isn't it?
Yes, it's. I think if I remember, if somebody correct me, it's the minister putting it forward or the member putting it forward. Is that right?
Yeah.
But and it is in very limited and exceptional circumstances. I'm getting very wise nods from the. Okay.
Seek legal advice just to make sure that.
Okay. Just on that, and Elise and Patricia are both here in the public gallery if we need advice. I suggest that we seek legal advice on the proposed amendments before coming to a final decision on the matter. Is that fair enough? It's the final.
Refer to the brain section.
Does Elise or Patricia want to say anything to this, or is content to wait till we get the legal advice, or is okay? Got an easy day today. Okay, members agreed?
Great.
Okay, agenda item 7, electronic voting in the chamber. At the last meeting, Brian McElduff raised the issue of electronic voting in the chamber, and the clerk has provided a briefing paper on the issue, and you'll find it at page 88. In the last mandate, the previous Committee on Procedures commenced an inquiry into electronic voting. However, as no change to the current system of voting was desired or recommended, the inquiry was not completed and no report was published. As part of the evidence gathering for the previous inquiry, a survey was sent to all MLAs to obtain initial views on the matter. There was a 47% response rate to the survey, and the findings indicated that members wish to retain the current system of voting. It's because they're all over 50. Comparative research was also carried out into other legislatures, and this indicated that electronic voting only offered a real saving in time when all divisions were held at a set point in the day or when there were consecutive divisions. The review of the Business Week report. The review of the Business Week report that we considered earlier made reference to deferring voting, stating that it was outside the remit of the review. It could be considered as a separate issue. The Chamber currently has 2 front rows of continuous desks which house 60 members. As the back benches are not continuous, there are only 24 desk spaces. So members have views on this. I already, before Barry Michael raised it, had sort of masked it quietly because it had been mentioned to me a few times with different people. I can't say it was an overwhelming discussion, but 84 places was said there. I mean, even I can work out that in the back benches you could actually put in more at the back row and all of that. And it only comes up when we have a series of, in my view, that is, it only comes up when we have a series of amendments, as we've had, when you have maybe 49 or 150 amendments and all of that, and people get a bit annoyed. My inclination, if it is not costly, if we could say this, is to get more information as to in other words, come back for options. But I would ask the question, is it going to cost anything? And that's just me abusing the chair, so it's on the floor.
Chair, just, I see on the response, almost half the response were from a single party. Can we identify what party they were from?
It's probably in Shinners. No, it was DUP.
No, just curious. Well, I mean, and not because that actually was.
Right, you're on top of your game. Yes, at least answered that.
But I think, I mean, one of the things I find about this committee is we do actually ask to do lots of different things, look at them, and we stick to what we've traditionally been doing. And I mean, I'm at pains that everybody's been asked for an opinion on it. Whilst there's only 47% of those responded, it's pretty clear others didn't take time to respond, hadn't really an interest in it. So I think it's an awful waste of officers' time and staff's time to go and do all this research when the conclusion will be the same.
Exactly.
And I mean, I take the point you're making about the benches, but if you take, there's 84 benches in terms of designated seats. You can, I actually sit in here thinking you can actually start to see other problems in terms of who voted and did somebody else push somebody else's button, or about voting records, and it's just a minefield, I think. And I think the system we have, whilst there's a degree of electronic use in it, I think it's pretty foolproof. I think in the time I've here, I think it's failed once when we've had to rerun it. So, I mean, I just feel that quite a lot of the work that we do in this committee, we send it out for the clerks and stuff to do more research, gather more evidence, first turn around and say, we'll just keep it as it was.
Keep the status quo.
Anybody else?
Although we do lose an awful lot of time voting through the lobbies, to be quite honest with you. It'd be better if you had a button in front you could press yes or no.
I mean, to tell you the truth, I'd actually hoped, because there had been a previous inquiry, that we would have the information in front of us, but it didn't go very far in terms of its inquiry.
Chair, this was discussed again. I suspect it might be discussed at every mandate, and maybe that's the right thing to do for each mandate, to discuss what way they want to do things in here. But I do recall very vividly that one of the strong opinions against voting electronically was it takes away a bit of the theatre from voting. Now, I'm not sure whether the theatre is in voting, but I have missed it. But anyway, that's by the way. That was one of the strong arguments that I put up, and it also gave members that extra moment to maybe lobby a minister on some issue that they felt strongly about. And it turns this here into a very cold house in relation to atmosphere and everything else. If you don't have any, other than just hitting a button, right, well, we've done our vote and that's it. And I think then it maybe sends out another message to the public at large that this is another means or method of sort of not arriving at this house to do your business. Now, I'm not saying that any member would be guilty of that, or any party, and I'm not alluding that in any way, but it could send out that sort of a message, you know.
Well, good, I mean, nobody else have a, Alvin, nobody else, nobody?
No, I mean, if there's any further inquiries we can make, useful inquiries over and above what we've already seen or has been carried out, might be helpful to guide us.
Well,
Thank you, Chair. When I was away recently with another committee, and we went to look at several different places in America, and they all had this type of voting. And one of them was in Maryland.
you all have electronic voting?
Yeah, had electronic voting. And I know at the time we thought, yeah, this actually really is a very good idea. But as you said, they all have their own specific, it's like a desk, nearly, all separate. They do. So therefore, you know where you're sitting as soon as you walk in the chamber. We change all the time, depending what committee, what we're talking on, who's the chair, who's the lead in that committee. It constantly changes, as it does with all parties in the chamber. But another thing that they had said that they had up as well was then they needed this, like a large notice board then as well, where you saw everybody's vote then going through. Because our votes are not secret, our votes are not silent, our votes are public. And they should then made public for we know who's voting on which lobby in the chamber just by watching people. So there would need to be that as well, which again I think would maybe take away from our chamber, and it would make it, I don't know, I think it would cheapen the chamber maybe somewhat. Albeit I know whenever we were discussing bills, like the local government bill there a few weeks ago, it was, I wish we had this system, because this is a pain, having to get up and do so many votes. But it's when I look at that chamber and I see our chamber and how dignified it looks, and if we had this big board up somewhere, which would have to be, showing each member's
What's the
vote,
reason in between?
and it's going to have to be massive, because it has to show 108 members. So it does on that board.
Okay, well, look, there isn't a big sort of push on this. Just let me, I want to ask a question and then maybe make a suggestion. Is there, is this an expensive, and I'm talking about in resource or even in time, depending on what we already have, to add to that, to, if you like, finish the original report? Is that a big job? Sort of, I don't know who I'm asking here, but am I left or right or Neola or? Well, can I make a suggestion that we just go and find out what, in terms of resource and that it would cost? I just prefer to have something like this which has been completed, and we can say it's been completed. I accept absolutely what you're saying. And the other thing is, and let's look at this again at maybe the next meeting, it might be that even in those circumstances, if we have a work programme that sees us through, you could put it at the end of the work programme, so we might do it or might not. But I would like to find out what sort of, because you need to be able to stand over sending people, you're right, sending people off to do this if it's going to take up an awful lot of time and all that. Are people content with that? We'll come back and just visit it for an hour, 5 minutes or so next time round?
Yep.
Okay. Agenda item 8 is the forward work programme. At page 98 is the work programme up to May. Are members content with the forward work programme? Agenda item 9, correspondence. A memo from the clerk to the Assembly and Executive Committee has been tabled in relation to its support on the review of petitions of concern. So it's been tabled there. It's on the members will recall that we had written to the AERC regarding petitions of concern and the establishment of ad hoc committees, on conformity with equality requirements. And the IRC agreed to include this issue in its inquiry. Members will be aware that the AERC did not reach consensus on these issues, as outlined in paragraphs 8 to 10 of the executive summary of the report, which is attached to the tabled memo. This issue has been on our list of forthcoming business on the forward work programme, awaiting the publication of the AERC report. We need to consider if this item can now be removed from the forward work programme, even though we've already agreed the work programme a couple of minutes ago. So,
It's not scheduled though.
Chair, can I just declare interest as a member of AERC?
okay. Any views? To kick it off, the difficulty here is if the AERC consider this and parties give their views and they weren't able to come to conclusions, it's a touch unlikely.
So we would election.
We would do it.
there's no direction coming from them on this issue. No? Right, okay. Well, it's a microcosm then of the bigger picture, isn't it?
Yep.
So are people happy enough to be removed from the forward work programme? Okay. Agenda item 10, any other business? Are there any items of business? Date and time of the next meeting. Next meeting will take place on the 27th of May at 1 p.m. in this room in 29. The meeting is adjourned.
This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 29.